So I wanted to start by talking about Machlokes, what comes from Machlokes, and how Machlokes is, what's so terrible about Machlokes is that it basically is a hipuch in the Bria. It's basically turning over the Bria. And I'll go into it a little bit, how that works. I just want to say over Maisa Shahaya with Machlokes, that there was a few people who were partners in a business. And Vayehi Hayom, there were three partners. The partner who had a little bit bigger share decided that the third partner has to leave, and his shares are going to go over to the other two, and that's the way it is. So when they told the third partner, he said, how can you do such a thing? So they said, this is what I decided, since I'm the majority partner, this is what I decided, and that's what we're doing. So the third partner said, well, let's go to Din Torah. So they went to Din Torah. Now, Din Torah is not a bad thing, obviously, but Din Torah is put in place, Rebbeinu Shalom put it there, that if two people don't get along for whatever it is, I owe you money, whatever the story is, and if you go to the lake with Batei Dinim, they can tell you 100 stories. It's a good thing, because that resolves Machlokes. You have to be Makabel Kenyan to say what it is. Kitsa, they went to the Bezdin Paskin, that that until the other side comes to Din Torah, so the Shutfus has to stay the way it is, and all shares have to be paid off evenly. The main partner said, I don't want to go to Din Torah, I'm not mechuyev to go to Din Torah, I just don't have to. So the other party went to the Reish of the Bezdin, and he said, what should I do? So he said, nothing I could do, they're tough people, and if they don't listen to Din Torah, there's nothing I could do. But he said, you see, he grabbed a little bit from Kairach. They see that he was paigim, but it is Machlokes, he was paigim in the Olam Elyonim and the Tachtainim. But I'm just saying, he said, so what was the end of the story? The end of the story that the third partner was Nifta, and they never went. And then the other partners who were Gairib the Machlokes, so they lost 2 grandchildren and a son-in-law and a son, and the whole business was going kaput. The only person that was doing well was they hired a manager. The manager kept up a good relation with everybody, so that manager basically took over the business. So just saying that the din, what applied by Kairach, that applies ad hayom with Machlokes, therefore incumbent on everybody, whatever things happen, they go to Din Torah and hopefully settle b'shalom. That's just the Ma'aseh Shahaya. I don't have to go further than that. Machlokes leads to Sinas Chinam, which is Chorban HaBeis HaMikdash and everything else. But I'm going into based on the Zohar. The Zohar starts off saying that, he says, I'm going to just say the English and translate it. You see that in the world, it doesn't stand only with Shalom. That when Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world, he saw it cannot exist until he brought along Shalom. And what is Shalom? So he says Shalom is Shabbos. And also he says that the Rebbeinu Shalom has a name called Shalom. And if you paigim in that name, Shalom, through Machlokes, so it's like you're splitting, basically you're chaylik on Kodesh Baruch Hu. And that was the terrible Aveira that Kairach was doing. So I just wanted to explain a little bit, what does it mean that we're paigim in the Bria and things like that. And we know when the Rebbeinu Shalom created the world, he created the Tchila, Baras Ha'olam B'midas Hadin, Rosh Ani Yochel Hizkayim, then he went over to Midas HaRachamim. Now, as we know, Midas HaRachamim is a mamutza. It's not considered pure chesed, it's called in between. And Ein Hakisei Shalom, right? Yeah, right? It's not considered whole until it has to have, for a chair to stand, it has to have a minimum of 3 legs. It can't stand on 2 legs. Doesn't work. It has to have 3 legs. And the 3 legs is, as we know, there's a thing called a maskala, there's a yamin, smile, answer, then it can have a kiyum. But without that, there is no kiyum. Now we see that Rebbeinu Shalom knew that there would be a world, that there would be Averis, there will be Machlokes, there will be all these things. So he put in the Bria, he inserted an ingredient, a refuah kaidin lamaka, which is called Shalom. Now the question is, how, a few things. First of all, why is Shalom so important? So the simple answer is because Shalom equals balance. In other words, if I have an argument with you, so I go to another place and we get a resolution, we make a peace treaty, right? A ceasefire and a peace treaty, and you gave up X and I gave up X, and we meet in the middle. That's Shalom. Now, the word Shalom is coming from the word Shleimus, complete. So when you have a tzad one way and a one thing the other way, so the Shleimus brings it together and makes it one Bria. So we know that what was the reason that Kairach really felt that was coming to him? He made up all kinds of Torahs that the Kahuna and Elvia and the Malchus, everything should come to him. Where does that Kayach come from with inside every person? Every person is Meira Hetam when it comes to them, because they always have Negiyas. There's a name for that Negiyah, and that name, which Rebbeinu Shalom put into the Bria, is what we call Klipas Noiga. Everybody knows Klipas Noiga, people who learn Tanya, and even though if you learn regular, you learn Side, you know that Klipas Noiga is the thing that instigates a person to, it's on the fence, so you could go either way. But it also gives the person the ability to touch up to himself why what I'm doing is okay. Right? I want to go to McDonald's, Chas v'Shalom, and eat a cheeseburger, so I'll find 20 terutzim why it's really okay. It's not McDonald's, it's McDavid, and the burger is chopped meat, it's not be'en, so it's not a bria b'fnei atzma. I'll find whether it's right or wrong. I can be mitaretz to myself anything that I want to be mitaretz to, and I'll find a way that it's okay. That's what the Klipas Noiga tells us, that it's okay, and with that we fall into the Avera. So the idea is to not even have that Hava Amina that a person is going to do Yena Avera. And that's a chelik of the Shleimus. Where do we see Shleimus? We see Shleimus by Malchus, because we have 10 spheres on top of the Malchus, and the spheres are basically Behelim, and the only thing that's Begiloi is the Malchus, because Malchus represents Giloi, right? And we know also that Shabbos is called Shabbos Malchusa, so the whole purpose of the whole Bria is to be in the Malchus. It's not anything else. It's that the Shabbos is a Tachlis HaBria. And you see it all the time. How is that working? That everything you do the whole week, you say Mizmashir, at the end of the week you say Mizmashir Liyom HaShabbos, right? And you say Hayom Yom Rishon L'Shabbos. So the whole 6 days is all for the Tachlis leading up to Shabbos. So everything is Shabbos. And Shabbos is considered Shleimus. And how do you see that? I'll just bring a shtickle raya. I've said this years back. That you see that there's an inyan of Shalom Bayis on Shabbos. That the candles, why do we light candles on Shabbos? In order to have Shalom Bayis. That's what the halacha brings. Maisa, today we have electricity. What's the point? We have lights. You're not going to bang into the furniture. What is brought down in Shulchan Aruch is that you'll trip on something or you'll bang into the furniture and then it'll create a shtickle kitata, so there won't be shalom in the bias. So answer is that shalom means over here shleimus. Where do you see that? Afka by Neiris, Shabbos, is because the Indian is for the husband to prepare the Neiris and for the lady to light the Neiris. So the two together are creating a hashlama. They're building something together that creates a hashlama on the Shabbos. That's why it's called Shalom Bayis, Shleimus in the Bayis. Shabbos is Malchus. Malchus is Gilui. The whole purpose of the entire Bria is to show that the Rebbeinu Shalom wants to be Megala himself to Klal Yisrael, that we should be makir that he's in existence, and therefore we should do Torah and mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim. And by Kairach separating basically the Shechina, by going against Ratzon Hashem, he's basically separating the Elyonim and the Tachtainim, which would mean the 9 spheres Elyonis and the Malchus itself, because there's no shleimus when there's machlokes. Like if you've seen many times, there's a thing called Rishus HaRabim, and there's a thing called Rishus HaYachid. Rishus HaRabim is B'chlal, everybody's included in it. Rishus HaYachid is Olam HaPirud, everybody is separate. It's fakert, I'm saying it the wrong way. Okay, it's the opposite. Rishus HaRabim, everybody's on their own, and Rishus HaYachid means it's Achtos Gomer. Shabbos is Echad. So, okay, I mixed it up. Shuldix. I'm not talking about Rosh Chodesh right now. I'm not talking about Rosh Chodesh right now. I'm talking about Shabbos. Rosh Chodesh is a different pchina. But right now, so I'm just showing you that by Kairach, by he creating Machlokes, it was a separation in the Bria itself. It had to come together as one. So that could be pshat in the Zohar. Why Dafka says that the Shalom, what is Shalom? Shabbos. That's what he says. So I'm saying all the Mefarshim say in a similar vein to what I'm saying, because since the Shabbos is the Malchus and the Malchus is the Gilui, and the whole purpose of the Bria is to have a Gilui b'tachtainim, and if you take away that Gilui b'tachtainim through Machlokes, or by being kaif and kutshabrich, which is really what it is. It's a chelik in Apikursus to say, Rebbeinu Shalom wanted Moshe and Aaron to be the leaders of Klal Yisrael, and he comes along and says he wants to be Valzakumtem. So that itself, that's the Merida Ba'Hashem, and by doing so, by creating Machlokes, you're separating the Elyonim and the Tachtainim, and the way Rebbeinu Shalom created the world, which was Hachana L'Tikun at the beginning, and then as we do Averas, the Tikkun comes in, he gave us the ability to do Tshuva and so forth. Therefore, the evils of Machlokes are very, very broad, and the benefits of Shalom are much more. And so therefore, we should all say Shalom al Yisrael.